The star charts were wrong again. Lieutenant Jimin Park scratched at the neural jack behind her ear, a habit her mother had tried to break for 23 years, and stared at the navigation console like it had personally insulted her ancestors. The Terran scout ship Defiant Grace hummed around her, all 60 meters of outdated fusion drives and patch-welded hull plating, while the supposedly empty sector of space ahead bloomed with energy signatures that had no business existing. "Captain's gonna love this," she muttered, already pulling up the deep-skin protocols. The coffee in her mug had gone cold an hour ago, but she took a sip anyway, grimacing at the bitter sludge. Supply runs to Firebase Juno were 3 months out, and the good stuff had run dry after week 2. The Grace wasn't supposed to be here. They were supposed to be mapping asteroid clusters in the Helios Reach, mind-numbing work that let G-Min catch up on her reading and occasionally nap during the quiet hours. Instead, Captain Rodriguez had diverted them to investigate anomalous signal decay patterns, which was military speak for something weird we can't explain. G-Min was starting to wish they'd stuck with the asteroids. The sensor array pinged, sharp and insistent. She leaned forward, fingers dancing across the holographic interface, and felt her stomach drop. 6 ships. No, 7. Radiation signatures consistent with Vrexian interceptors, and they were moving fast, herding something smaller toward the debris field of what looked like a destroyed cargo hauler. The smaller ship's shields were flickering, failing, if she read the patterns right. "Bridge, this is sensors. We've got a situation." Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through her implant. "Define situation, Park. Looks like a pursuit. Vrexians running down a civilian craft. Maybe a personal yacht?" She's not broadcasting distress, but her shields are almost gone. Silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. The Vrexian collective wasn't technically at war with the Terran Alliance, but they weren't exactly sending each other holiday greetings either. Their expansion into the outer reach had sparked a dozen territorial disputes in the past year alone, and tensions were running hot enough to melt hull plating. How many Vrexian ships? 7 confirmed. Interceptor class, armed and looking eager. More silence. G-Min pulled up the tactical overlay, watching the small craft twist and dodge between chunks of frozen debris. Whoever was piloting knew what they were doing, but physics was an unforgiving mistress. The Vrexians were closing the net. "All hands, battle stations. Park, get me an ID on that civilian ship." G-Min's fingers were already moving. The database search took 14 seconds that felt like hours, cross-referencing hull configuration against known registry patterns. When the match popped up, she blinked twice, certain she'd made a mistake. "Captain, you're not gonna believe this." "Try me." The yacht is registered to the Zolfran Consortium. Specifically, it's flagged as a diplomatic courier. And unless the database is glitching, the transponder code matches a ship assigned to Ambassador Lyrith Kansoris. This time, the silence was heavy enough to feel. The Zolfran were the galaxy's unofficial peacekeepers, tall, elegant beings with crystalline skin that refracted light in prismatic patterns, known for their diplomatic core and their insufferably polite neutrality. They didn't take sides in conflicts, and they definitely didn't get chased by Vrexian kill squads. "Weapons, spin up the railguns," Rodriguez said, voice flat and calm in the way that meant he was furious. "Helm, intercept course. Park, send a standard warning to those Vrexian ships. Tell them they're engaging a protected diplomatic vessel in contested space." G-Min's hands moved across the console, crafting the message with the proper protocols and threat-level indicators. She hit send and watched the comm laser stria. K across the void. The Vrexians didn't even slow down. "Message ignored, Captain." "There, wait." Her screen flashed red. "Missiles away." The Vrexians just fired a full spread. The Zolfran yacht's shields flared violet, absorbing 2 impacts before the third punched through, and G-Min watched the small ship shudder as secondary explosions rippled across its stern. Atmosphere vented in crystalline clouds that caught the light of the distant star. "That's it," Rodriguez growled. "Weapons, I want firing solutions on all 7 ships. Communications, broadcast in the clear. Any ship that fires on that yacht again gets turned into scrap." G-Min switched to the wideband channel, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. "Attention Vrexian vessels. This is Terran scout ship Defiant Grace. You are engaging a diplomatic craft under galactic protection protocols. Stand down immediately or face consequences. The lead Vrexian interceptor responded by launching another missile. Jimin never saw Captain Rodriguez give the order. The Grace spoke first. A single railgun round accelerated to .3 light speed, crossing the distance in under a second. The tungsten penetrator hit the Vrexian ship dead center, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the interceptor came apart like a child's toy, hull plating peeling away as internal atmosphere explosions tore through compromised bulkheads. The debris cloud expanded outward, glittering with frozen coolant and what might have been crew. The other 6 Vrexian ships scattered like startled fish. Second volley ready, Captain. Weapons reported. Hold fire unless they press. Park, get a tow beam on that yacht before it loses integrity completely. Jimin was already working, fingers flying across the interface as she calibrated the Grace's magnetic grapple. The Zolfran ship was tumbling now, its engines dark and its remaining shields guttering like a dying candle. She snagged it on the third try, feeling the clunk of contact through the deck plates. Got her. Reeling in now. The Vrexian ships were regrouping, moving into a loose formation just outside railgun range. Jimin kept one eye on them while she worked, half expecting another attack. But they held position, watching and waiting. Smart. They'd just learned why human ships, even the small ones, were dangerous. 20 minutes later, the Zolfran yacht sat in the Grace's cargo bay, and Jimin stood in the airlock corridor with a medkit and a translator unit clipped to her belt. Captain Rodriguez had volunteered her for first contact, something about her exceptional diplomatic skills, which was military speak for "you haven't pissed off any aliens recently." The yacht's hatch was stuck. She could hear movement inside, the high-pitched trill of Zolfran vocalizations, but the damage to the outer hull had warped the frame. Jimin grabbed a pry bar from the emergency locker and wedged it into the gap. "Hello in there. Terran crew coming through. Don't shoot me, please." A muffled response, too distorted to make out. She threw her weight against the bar, and the hatch gave way with a shriek of tortured metal. Air hissed out, still breathable, thank the stars, and Jimin stuck her head through the opening. The interior of the yacht was a disaster. Luxury furnishings were scattered across the deck, mixed with debris and what looked like shattered crystalline art pieces. Emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow that made the prismatic bloodstains on the bulkhead look black. And in the center of the cabin, half buried under a collapsed cabinet, was the most beautiful being Jimin had ever seen. Ambassador Lyrith Kinsories was tall, even for a Zolfran, nearly 7 feet of elegant limbs and crystalline skin that fractured the emergency lighting into rainbows. Her face was angular, with high cheekbones and eyes that swirled with colors Jimin couldn't name. She was wearing what might have been diplomatic robes now torn and stained, and one of her arms was bent at an angle that made Jimin's stomach churn. "Don't move," Jimin said, dropping the translator in her rush to clear the debris. "I'm here to help. Can you understand me?" Those swirling eyes focused on her, and when Lyrith spoke, her voice was like wind chimes in a thunderstorm, musical and discordant all at once. The translator struggled for a moment before finding the pattern. "Human." Lyrith's good hand reached up, fingers trembling as they brushed Jimin's cheek. "You came for me?" "Yeah, well." Jimin gently moved the hand away, trying not to stare at how the crystalline fingers caught the light. "Seemed like the right thing to do. Can you move your legs?" "I believe so." Lyrith shifted, wincing as her broken arm dragged across the deck. "The Vrexians are regretting their life choices. We took out one of their ships, and the rest backed off." Jimin got the last of the cabinet pieces off Lyrith and helped her sit up. "You're safe now. We've got you." Lyrith stared at her, those impossible eyes wide with something that might have been shock. "You destroyed a Vrexian interceptor?" One shot." "One shot," Jimin confirmed, pulling out the medkit. "Though technically it was a railgun, so it's more like one very fast piece of metal. This is gonna hurt. I need to stabilize your arm." The process took 10 minutes and required more of Lyrith's blood than Jimin was comfortable seeing. Zolfran physiology wasn't that different from human, at least in the basics: bones, muscles, circulation. But their blood crystallized when exposed to air, forming delicate structures that shattered at a touch. "Why did you help me?" Lyrith asked as Jimin worked. "Our peoples are not allies. We maintain neutrality in all conflicts." Jimin glanced up, meeting those swirling eyes. Because 7-on-1 is shitty odds, and I don't like bullies. Simple as that. Simple. Lyritha's laugh was bitter crystal. Nothing about Huma. An S is simple, Lieutenant Park. How do you know my rank? I can read your uniform. Lyrith gestured weakly at the rank insignia on Jimin's shoulder. I studied Terran culture extensively before accepting my diplomatic post. Your people fascinate me. Yeah, we're pretty fascinating. Jimin finished wrapping the splint and sat back on her heels. Can you walk, or should I get a stretcher? Lyrith tested her weight, grimacing as she stood. I can walk, though I may require assistance. Jimin slipped an arm around Lyritha's waist. Her skin was warm, almost hot to the touch, and the crystalline structure had a texture like fine glass. And together they made their way through the yacht and into the Grace's cargo bay. Captain Rodriguez was waiting with the ship's medic, a grumpy older man named Chun who took one look at Lyrith and started muttering about xenobiology being above his pay grade. Ambassador, Rodriguez said, inclining his head. Welcome aboard the Defiant Grace. We'll get you to medical and... Captain, Jimin's neural implant screamed with priority alerts. The Vrexians are moving again. All 6 ships, attack formation, heading straight for us. Rodriguez's expression went flat. How long? 3 minutes to weapons range. Get the ambassador to medical. All hands, battle stations for the 2nd time today. He turned to Jimin. Park, you're with me on the bridge. The next 3 minutes were the longest of Jimin's life. She left Lyrith with medic Chun, ignoring the way those colorful eyes tracked her movement, and sprinted to the bridge, sliding into her sensor station as the proximity alarms started their angry wailing. The Vrexians came in fast and mean, spreading out to attack from multiple vectors. The Grace was a scout ship, not a warship. She had teeth, but not enough to hold off 6 interceptors in a straight fight. They'd gotten lucky with the first kill, catching the Vrexians off guard. Luck didn't strike twice. Captain, they're jamming our communications, Jimin reported, fingers flying across her console. I can't get a distress signal out. Then we do this ourselves. Weapons, firing pattern Delta. Helm, keep us between them and the yacht. If they want the ambassador, they go through us. What followed was less a battle and more a furious dance of death in the void. The Grace twisted and spun, her railguns spitting tungsten death, while missiles streaked past close enough to trigger proximity alarms. Jimin watched the tactical display with her heart in her throat, calling out targets and vectors while Rodriguez orchestrated their defense with calm precision. They got lucky twice more. 2 Vrexian ships caught railgun rounds and went spinning away, leaking atmosphere and debris. But the Grace was bleeding too, her shields failing in sections, hull breaches sealed by emergency bulkheads. We can't keep this up, Weapons said, voice tight. Jimin agreed, but she didn't say it. Instead, she ran another sensor sweep, looking for anything that might help, and that's when she saw it. Captain, the debris field, 12,000 kilometers spinward. If we can get in there, the Vrexians won't be able to use their speed advantage. Rodriguez didn't hesitate. Helm, new heading. Take us into the graveyard. The Grace dove into the shattered remains of the old cargo hauler, and suddenly they were flying through a maze of tumbling metal and frozen cargo containers. The Vrexian ships followed, but their formation broke apart as they dodged obstacles, and the Grace's superior maneuvering let her slip between pieces of wreckage that would have shredded the interceptors. Now, Rodriguez barked. The Grace spun on her axis and fired everything. Railguns, missiles, even the point defense lasers. All of it thrown at the Vrexian ships in one desperate gamble. 2 more interceptors died, torn apart by tungsten and explosions, and the last 2 broke off, accelerating away into the dark. Silence fell across the bridge, Brock, and only by the sound of Jimin's ragged breathing. Damage report, Rodriguez said quietly. Hull breaches on decks 2 and 4, sealed. Shields down to 8%. Port maneuvering thruster offline. We're alive, but we're not pretty. Good enough. Rodriguez slumped in his chair. Park, get down to medical and check on our guest. I want to know what the hell the Vrexians wanted badly enough to attack a diplomatic ship. Jimin found Lyrith in medical, sitting on an exam table while Chun grumbled about Zolfran bone density. The ambassador's arm was properly set now, wrapped in a regenerative cast that hummed softly. She looked up when Jimin entered, and something in those swirling eyes made Jimin's chest feel tight. You survived, Lyrith said. So did you. Jimin leaned against the doorframe, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was. We chased off the rest of the Vrexians, but we took some hits. Gonna be a slow trip to the nearest station. I am sorry you were forced to fight on my behalf. Don't be. I told you, I don't like bullies. Jimin moved closer, studying Lyrith's face. Though I gotta ask, why were they so determined to kill you? Diplomatic immunity is usually sacred. Lyrith was quiet for a long moment, her crystalline fingers tracing patterns on the edge of the exam table. I was carrying information. Evidence of Vrexian war crimes in the Outer Reach, suppressed reports, testimonies from survivors. I planned to present it before the Galactic Council. Oh, Jimin whistled low. Yeah, that'd do it. They wanted you dead before you could talk. And now they know a human crew saved me. Your alliance will be drawn into this conflict. Maybe, Jimin shrugged. Or maybe the council will actually do something for once. Either way, you're alive, and that's what matters. Lyrith stood, moving closer until Jimin could see every facet of her crystalline skin, every shift of color in her eyes. You risk your life for strangers. For principles. The galaxy claims humans are dangerous, that you are warriors who cannot be trusted. We are dangerous, Jimin said. But that doesn't mean we're monsters. No. Lyrith reached out, her good hand cupping Jimin's cheek with infinite gentleness. You are something far more terrifying. You are kind. Jimin's breath caught. This close, she could feel the heat radiating from Lyrith's skin, could smell something like ozone and flowers. Is kindness really that scary? To those who profit from cruelty? Yes. Lyrith's thumb brushed across Jimin's cheekbone. I have studied your species for years, Lieutenant Park. I have read your literature, analyzed your history. I thought I understood humans. And now I know I understood nothing at all. Lyrith leaned closer, and Jimin's heart hammered against her ribs. One shot from your ship, and the Vrexians learned fear. One human crew, and I learned something else entirely. What's that? Jimin whispered. That perhaps the galaxy is wrong about what makes humans dangerous. It is not your weapons or your warrior spirit. Lyrith's forehead touched Jimin's, and her skin was warm and smooth like sun-heated glass. It is that you choose to care, even when caring costs you everything. Jimin should have stepped back, should have maintained professional distance, remembered regulations about fraternization with alien dignitaries, should have done 100 different things. Instead, she kissed her. Lyrith's lips were soft, and when she gasped in surprise, Jimin tasted something like electricity and honey. The ambassador's good arm wrapped around Jimin's waist, pulling her closer, and for a moment the rest of the universe fell away. No battles, no politics, just two beings finding something unexpected in the void between stars. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jimin couldn't help but laugh. What is humorous? Lyrith asked, though she was smiling too, her eyes swirling with colors that might have been joy. I just realized I'm probably going to get court-martialed for kissing an ambassador. Then I will testify on your behalf. Lyrith's fingers traced the line of Jimin's jaw. I will tell them it was diplomatic outreach of the highest order. Pretty sure that's not how it works. Then we will make it work. Lyrith's expression turned serious. The information I carry will change things, Jimin Park. When the council sees the evidence, the Vrexian collective will face sanctions. There will be political upheaval, possibly war. I know, and I will need to testify, to stand before the galaxy and speak truth to power. Lyrith's hand tightened on Jimin's waist. I do not wish to do it alone. Jimin's chest felt too full, like her heart had grown 3 sizes. Are you asking what I think you're asking? I am asking if a human lieutenant with exceptional diplomatic skills would consider serving as my personal liaison. Someone to help me navigate the coming storms. Someone to remind me why kindness matters, even when the universe seems determined to reward only cruelty. That's a hell of a job offer. It comes with excellent benefits. Lyrith's smile was radiant, including the company of a Zolthran diplomat who finds herself unexpectedly and thoroughly fascinated by a particular human. Jimin pretended to think about it for approximately 3 seconds. When do I start? Immediately, if you are willing. Though I suspect your captain may have opinions. Yeah, Rodriguez is gonna love this. Jimin laughed again, pulling Lyrith close. But he'll understand. He's big on doing the right thing, even when it's complicated. And it would be complicated. Jimin knew that with bone-deep certainty. There would be hearings and investigations, political maneuvering and diplomatic incidents. The Vrexian Collective wouldn't take their exposure lying down, and the Terran Alliance would have to choose sides. But standing here in Medical Bay, holding an impossible being who had somehow become the most important person in her universe, Jimin found she didn't care about complicated. The galaxy had learned something important today. It had learned that humans didn't need a reason to fight, only a cause worth fighting for. That one shot from a Terran ship could change the calculus of power. That kindness, backed by tungsten rounds traveling at 0.3 light speed, was the most dangerous weapon in existence. Let them fear that. Let them whisper about the humans who rescued a lone ambassador against impossible odds, who threw themselves between the innocent and those who would do them harm. Let them learn what Jimin had known all along, that humans were dangerous precisely because they cared, and that made them unstoppable. You're smiling, Lyrith observed, her crystalline fingers tracing idle patterns on Jimin's back. Just thinking about how we're going to shake up the galaxy. Yeah. Jimin met those swirling eyes without hesitation. You and me against the universe. What could go wrong? Lyrith's laugh was like music, pure and bright, and utterly alien. Everything most likely. Good. Jimin grinned. I've always preferred interesting to easy. Above them, the defiant Grace limped through the void, bearing her crew and her precious cargo toward uncertain futures. Behind them, the debris field floated silent and cold, a monument to the day the galaxy learned why humans were feared. One shot from Thundersoul, they would call it later, when the story spread across 1,000 worlds. One shot that changed everything. But Jimin would always remember it differently. Not as the shot that destroyed a Vrexian ship, but as the moment when kindness and violence danced together in the dark, when she looked into alien eyes and saw her future reflected in impossible colors. The galaxy would learn to fear humans, yes. But Jimin had learned something far more important, that even in the cold equation of interstellar politics and ancient hatreds, there was room for connection, for understanding, for love that crossed the gulf between species and made the universe a little less lonely. Outside the viewports, the stars burned eternal and indifferent. But inside the Grace, in a cramped medical bay that smelled of antiseptic and ozone, two beings from different worlds held each other and dared to imagine a future where kindness mattered more than fear. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe. But it was theirs, and that was enough.